The methods of translation. Network address and port translation may be implemented in several ways. Some applications that use IP address information may need to determine the external address of a network address translator. This is the address that its communication piece is in the external network detect. Furthermore, it may be necessary to examine and categorize the type of mapping in use. For example, when it is desired to set up a direct communication path between two clients, both of which are behind separate network address translation gateways. For this purpose, RFC 3489 specifies a protocol simple traversal of UDP over NAT STAN in 2003. It classified NAT implementations as full cone NAT, address restricted cone NAT, port restricted cone NAT, or symmetric NAT, and proposed a methodology for testing a device accordingly. However, these procedures have since been deprecated from standard status as the methods are inadequate to correctly assess many devices. RFC 5389 standardized the new methods in 2008, and the acronym STAN since it represents the new title of the specification: Session Traversal Utilities for Network Address Translation. Network Address Translation types: Endpoint Independent NAT, Full Cone NAT, 1:1/1-1-to-1 NAT or NAT1. Once an internal address IP-adres (I) port is mapped to an external address IP-adres (E) port, any packets from IP-adres (port) are sent through the address port. Any external host can send packets to address port by sending packets to address port, E-address E port. Address-dependent network address translation, restricted cone, NAT or NAT2. As many NAT implementations combine multiple types, it is better to refer to specific individual NAT behavior instead of using the cone symmetric terminology. RFC 4787 attempts to alleviate confusion by introducing standardized terminology for observed behaviors. For the first bullet in each row of the above table, the RFC would characterize full cone, restricted cone, and port restricted cone NAT as having an endpoint independent mapping, whereas it would characterize a symmetric NAT as having an address and port dependent mapping. For the second bullet in each row of the above table, RFC 4787 would also label full cone NAT as having an endpoint independent filtering, restricted cone NAT as having an address dependent filtering, port restricted cone NAT as having an address and port dependent filtering, and symmetric NAT as having either an address dependent filtering or address and port dependent filtering. Other classifications of NAT behavior mentioned in the RFC include whether they preserve ports, when and how mappings are refreshed, whether external mappings can be used by internal hosts, meaning its hand-billing behavior, and the level of determinism NATs exhibit when applying all these rules. Specifically, most NATs combine symmetric NAT for outgoing connections with static port mapping, where incoming packets addressed to the external address and port are redirected to a specific internal address and port. NAT mapping versus NAT filtering. RFC 4787 distinguishes between NAT mapping and NAT filtering. Section 4.1 of the RFC covers NAT mapping and specifies the translation of an external IP address and port number into an internal IP address and port number. It defines endpoint independent mapping, address dependent mapping, and address port dependent mapping. It explains that these three possible choices do not relate to the security of the NAT, as security is determined by the filtering behavior, and then specifies a NAT must have an endpoint independent mapping behavior. Section 5 of the RFC covers NAT filtering and describes the criteria used by the NAT to filter packets originating from specific external endpoints. The options are endpoint independent filtering, address dependent filtering, and address and port dependent filtering. Endpoint independent filtering is recommended where maximum application transparency is required, while address-dependent filtering is recommended, where more stringent filtering behavior is most important. Some NAT devices are not compliant with RFC 4787, as they treat NAT mapping and filtering in the same way, so that their configuration option for changing the NAT filtering method also changes the NAT mapping method, meaning NATgate, DNSR. Type of NAT and NAT traversal. Role of port preservation for TCP. NAT traversal problems arise when pairs behind different NATs try to communicate. One way to solve this problem is to use port forwarding. Another way is to use various NAT traversal techniques. The most popular technique for TCP NAT traversal is TCP hole punching. TCP hole punching requires the NAT to follow the port preservation design for TCP for given outgoing TCP communication. The same port numbers are used on both sides of the NAT. NAT port preservation for outgoing TCP connections is crucial for TCP and NAT traversal because on the TCP, one port can only be used for one communication at a time. Programs that bind to distinct TCP sockets to ephemeral ports for each TCP communication make NAT port prediction impossible for TCP. On the other hand, for UDP, NATs do not need port preservation. Indeed, multiple UDP communications, each with a distinct endpoint, can occur on the same source port, and applications usually reuse the same UDP socket to send packets to distinct hosts. You can check my videos. I got a whole video on sockets. Now, this makes port prediction straightforward, as it is the same source port for each packet. Furthermore, port preservation in NAT for TCP allows P2P protocols to offer less complexity and less latency because there is no need to use a third party like Stun to discover the NAT port, since the application itself already knows the NAT port. However, if two internal hosts attempt to communicate with the same external host using the same port number, the NAT may attempt to use a different external IP address for the second connection, or may need to forego port preservation and remap the port. As of 2006, roughly 70% of the clients in peer-to-peer P2P networks employed some form of NAT, network address translation. Implementation: establishing two-way communication. Every TCP and UDP packet contains a source port number and a destination port number. Each of those packets is encapsulated in an IP packet, whose IP header contains a source IP address and a destination address. The IP address protocol port number triple defines in association with the network socket. For publicly accessible services such as web and mail service, the port number is important. For example, port 443 connects through a socket to the web server software, and port 465 to a mail server SMTP daemon. The IP address of a public server is also important, similar in global uniqueness to a postal address or telephone number. Both the IP address and port number must be correctly known by all hosts wishing to communicate successfully. Private IP addresses as described in RFC 1918 are usable only on private networks not directly connected to the internet. Private IP addresses as described in RFC 1918 are usable only on private networks not directly connected to the internet. Ports are endpoints of communication unique to that host, so connection through the NAT device is maintained by the combined mapping of port and IP address. A private address on the inside of the NAT is mapped to an external public address. Port address translation (PAT) resolves conflicts that arise when multiple hosts happen to use the same source port number to establish different external connections at the same time. Translation process: with NAT, all communications sent to external hosts actually contain the external IP address and port information of the NAT device instead of internal host IP addresses or port numbers. NAT only translates IP addresses and ports of its internal host, hiding the true endpoint of an internal host on the network. When the computer on the private internal network sends an IP packet to the external network, the NAT device replaces the internal source IP address in the packet header with the external IP address of the NAT device. PAT may then assign the connection a port number from a pool of available ports, inserting this port number in the source port field. The packet is then forwarded to the external network. The NAT device then makes an entry in a translation table containing the internal IP address, original port, source port, and the translated source port. Subsequent packets from the same internal source IP address and port number are translated to the same external source IP address and port number. The computer receiving a packet that has undergone NAT establishes a connection to the port and IP address specified in the altered packet, oblivious to the fact that the supplied address is being translated. Upon receiving a packet from the external network, the NAT device searches the translation table based on the destination port in the packet header. If a match is found, the destination IP address and port number are replaced with the values found in the table and the packet is forwarded to the inside network. Otherwise, if the destination port number of the incoming packet is not found in the translation table, the packet is dropped or rejected because the PAT device doesn't know where to send it. Applications, routing, network address translation can be used to mitigate IP address overlap. Address overlap occurs when hosts in different networks with the same IP address space try to reach the same destination host. This is most often a misconfiguration and may result from the merger of two networks or subnets, especially when using RFC 1918 private network addressing. The destination host experiences traffic apparently arriving from the same network, and intermediate routers have no way to determine where applied traffic should be sent to. The solution is either renumbering to eliminate overlap or network address translation. Load balancing. In client-server applications, load balancers forward client requests to a set of server computers to manage the workload of each server. Network address translation may be used to map a representative IP address of the server cluster to specific hosts that serves the request. Related techniques. IEEE reverse address and port translation RAPT or RAT allows a host whose real IP address changes from time to time to remain reachable as a server via a fixed home IP address. Cisco's RAPT implementation is PAT or NAT overloading and maps multiple private IP addresses to a single public IP address. Multiple addresses can be mapped to a single address because each private address is tracked by a port number. PAT uses unique source port numbers on the inside global IP address to distinguish between translations. PAT attempts to preserve the original source port. If this source port is already used, PAT assigns the first available port number, starting from the beginning of the appropriate port group 0 to 511, 512 to 1023, or 1024 to 65,535. When there are no more ports available and there is more than one external IP address configured, PAT moves to the next IP address to try to allocate the original source port again. This process continues until it runs out of available ports and external IP addresses. Mapping of address and port is a Cisco proposal that combines address plus port translation with tunneling of the IPv4 packets over an ISP provided the internal IPv6 network. In effect, it is an almost stateless alternative to carrier grade NAT and DS Lite that pushes the IPv4 address port translation function and the maintenance of NAT states entirely into the existing customer premises equipment NAT implementation, thus avoiding the NAT 444 and statefulness problems of carrier grade NAT, and also provides a transition mechanism for the deployment of native IPv6 at the same time with very little added complexity. Next is issues and limitations. If you like these readings, please subscribe so I can make more. Else it is useless and I won't make videos anymore.